So a sales pipeline is literally just for us, we talk about it's the process that we walk people through. It's where we take somebody from stranger to paying client. To me, that is a pipeline. And so, but there are people in that pipeline that might be cold, and there's people in that pipeline that might be warm, and people that are hot, right? So cold means they don't really know us that well. Warm means they're getting to know us and we're nurturing them. And hot means that they are real opportunities that are interested in working with us. They have the problem that we solve and we can serve them.
All right, welcome back to another episode of the Sharice Williams Show, the only podcast created for the highly conscious, high-impact nurse-turned-entrepreneur looking to create, launch, and scale a wildly profitable holistic health coaching and consulting business from a place of ease and flow, while also optimizing your health and wellness and vitality naturally. So, that being said, you guys, I have the best treat for you today. I have a beautiful guest. None other than Ryann Dowdy. And you guys, let me share. Hey there. Hey, Ryan. How are you?
Hey, I'm so excited to be here.
I am so glad to have you here. Let me share a little bit about you with our listeners today. So Ryann is a sales expert. She's a business strategist. She's a connection marketing specialist and the CEO and founder of the Connection Agency. She believes that we are one relationship away from anything and everything we want in life. I totally agree with that. Since 2005, Ryan Dowdy has sat in front of hundreds of business owners to develop marketing plans and taught thousands of sales reps, business owners, and entrepreneurs how to sell by focusing on the power of relationships. She's grown multiple seven-figure businesses of her own, and now she's helping others to do the same. Please welcome with me, Ryann Dowdy. Hey, Ryan.
Hi, I'm so excited to be here. Thank you.
I am excited to be here too. You know, so interesting. I'm excited to be here too. I'm excited that you're here with me today. How about that? And it's so amazing how life just kind of takes you, you know, on just beautiful. It's a journey, and then we run into really awesome and amazing people. And so you and I connected probably 3 years ago, maybe.
It's give or take,
probably 2 to 3, something about that. 20, I think it was 2020-ish, something that effect. And I remember when I sat in on one of your trainings. We met in a high level mastermind, and I remember when I sat in on one of your trainings. I'm like, oh, I'm gonna need another pen. I'm gonna run out of ink taking so many notes. And I am serious. And so every time you would do a training, I'm like, okay, let me put that on the schedule. Let me make sure I'm in Ryan's training, because you just had so much. Not depth and knowledge, but heart as well. And I think that's one thing that I really appreciate about you. So why don't you share with us, Ryan, how you got here? Like, take us on like the backstory of Ryan Dowdy.
Sure. Yeah. So before becoming an entrepreneur, Sharice, I had a 15-year corporate career, actually selling marketing solutions. So I started selling radio advertising when I was 21 years old. Never really intended to become an entrepreneur until I did. I was the director of sales for a digital marketing agency and was just kind of experiencing what I now know to be burnout. I did not have that language at the time, right? And I just needed something different. And I started networking and talking to people and kind of stumbled into the entrepreneur land, and specifically the online marketing space, where the expertise that I had been developed, or companies had invested, in me to learn and develop, that other people would pay me for that. Like, it just kind of blew my mind, right? Because I was just very much grew up in a paradigm of like, you have skills and we pay you for these skills, but to other people, not in the form of a job, to be like, come teach me what you know, kind of blew my mind. So I started as a tiny baby side hustle in 2018. Made the leap full-time into entrepreneurship on the heels of maternity leave of my youngest in 2019, and have been kind of, riding the roller coaster ever since. It's been a really wild ride. I had a lot of success in my first business. I was a sales coach for new entrepreneurs. That's when we connected. I also wound up in a second business with a partner where we built sales training materials for other entrepreneurs. That partnership unfortunately unfolded in a not pleasant way. It was kind of a bummer, but it left me kind of like, who am I and who do I want to be when I grow up? So 22 was kind of a recovery year, a healing year, a like really coming home to me year, which was beautiful and painful in its own way. And I feel like we've resurfaced really well in 2023, and the agency was born. I really love coaching and consulting, but I often found myself being like, hey, let us do that for you. Like, oh, my team can write those emails, right? Like, oh, my team can design those graphics. Like, oh, my team, we already have that built. And so just the agency became the natural
It
progression.
just
And
made sense. Yeah.
yeah. And so then we started white labeling software. So now we have a lot of technology that empowers, connection and relationships. And I could have never predicted to be sitting where I'm sitting right now in a million
Is,
years if you would
isn't it fun?
Isn't it
Isn't it
beautiful?
fun? It is. It is so beautiful. So very beautiful. And so thank you for sharing your journey. I love to hear the backstory. You said some really interesting things. So before we hop into our visibility, which is really the focus of today's episode, which you are clearly that's your jam. But I really just want to kind of speak to a couple of things that you said, which was you didn't realize, you said other people would pay you for what you knew.
Right.
Isn't that so fascinating? Like we
Right.
take for granted the things that we know. We're like, oh, that's just what I know. Not really
Right.
realizing not everyone knows this. And there are people who will pay you. I always say people will pay you for your organized thoughts. People will pay
Yes.
you for your organized thoughts. And so every single person that's listening to this, like you're sitting on a masterpiece, things that just come to you very naturally that you just know. You just take for granted. It's a skill. It's just, and you might not even recognize it as a skill, but it's just who you
Yep.
be. And
Yeah.
people want that. Yeah. So
Yep.
I love that. And then what I also heard you say is that you had a little side hustle that ended
Sure.
up growing into something bigger, something
Yeah.
more. And unbeknownst to you, like you didn't have any intentions, did you?
Yeah.
Of turning your side hustle
No.
into a big, yeah.
Oh, I did. I thought it would take forever. Like in my mind, I was like,
Mm,
okay, start now in 5 years, I might be able to get out of this job. And again, at the time, my intention was merely to replace my salary. Like I never to grow a company, right? To truly
yeah.
be a business owner wasn't really where I saw myself going. Again, all I wanted was back in control of my time. Like that was my
Yes.
driver. So it wasn't even heavily financially motivated, just like pay me what I'm paying now, but just like let me decide who I work with and when I work and how I work. Like that was literally the first intention, Sharice. That
Yeah,
was it.
I love that. I love that, and I find that a lot of the women that I work with that interview my clients that are listening,
Yep.
that's their intention as well. They
Yep.
just want to just have their time, have control of their time, have control of their life, do
Yep.
what they do. They love doing what they're doing.
Yep.
They just want to do it on their own terms. So I love
Yep.
that. And I love that you
Mhm.
just went with the flow. A lot of times, sometimes we can block our own success because like, wait, this is not what I wanted. But you went with it and allowed it to unfold, is what I'm hearing you say.
I did not feel that
Uh-oh.
way.
Oh no? No? Tell me about it. Tell me. I love it.
I loved it. It sounded that way to you, friend. It did not feel
That's how it sounded. But tell us the scoop. Or as they say, tell us the tea.
Yeah. No, I mean it was just this constant journey. Like, and I love the intro you gave about like consciousness is like these were not words I knew or understood, right? Like I very
Yeah.
much I like one of my own spiritual journey the last couple of years, which led to what I lovingly call my business divorce, which led to last year being a really healing year for me, or 22 being a really healing year for me, is everything was force. Everything was
Hmm.
like, let me just keep shoving the rocks in the bag and I'll just keep carrying the bag because I'm strong enough, right? I'm the strong one. I'm the smart one. I'm the figure it out girl. Like I'm the leader. And so
Yeah.
I'm actually just now in a season of really in ease and flow and grace and intention and really feeling like I have my arms wrapped around that because I created a lot of things out of sheer force, which is what leads
Mm.
to burnout and
A
overwhelm and
burnout. Yeah.
yeah, and a business that like made a ton of money and I hated it. So
Oh my
um,
gosh. Can we talk about
you
that
know,
just for a hot second?
yes, of course.
Just building a business that makes a ton of money, but you're not like fulfilled. One of the things I always say, and I actually just did
Mhm.
a training on this the other day, is the importance of really building your business um,
Mhm.
with from a the importance of building your business from a place of like knowing what your core values are. Knowing what your core
Yes.
values are and building your business around that. That's really what I'm trying to
Yep.
say. And so talk to us a little about that. Like what was your experience
Yeah.
building a successful business, but you were like, oh,
Yeah. Well, it was a blessing and a curse, right? Like I told you, my only intention was get me out of this job, right?
yeah.
Like I need 150 grand a year, like get me out. And so I didn't think a lot about all the things you just described. I didn't think about my values. I didn't think about my time. I didn't think about intention. I thought,
Right.
how can I,
Get
and
out.
obviously, how can I get out? I was creating from a place of I don't like where I'm at, not
Mhm.
creating from a place of intention. So I wound up growing a business that mirrored my mentor's business at the time. And it was big and it was heavy and it was expensive and it required a ton of my time and energy to run. And I also want to be clear, like I'm very active in my business. I'm not trying to like, go carry my laptop to Bali and not work. Like that's not my jam, but like it was too much. And
Yeah.
I was delivering in a way that I didn't want to, and a lot of those different things. So, I've
Mhm.
always, as we've reiterated over the years, I'm very mindful of what is the impact on my time. If we go the agency
Yes.
route and we go this done for you route, what is the impact on my time? And that's actually why we went in that direction, because I drive strategy. I have a team that does the work, right? So
Yeah.
I'm the top, and then then it comes back up to me. And so I get to touch the things I really enjoy, and I don't touch anything that I don't. And that is invaluable to me, to be quite honest.
Yeah, no, I love that. And again, I love just hearing the evolution. A lot of times we think that how we start is how it's going to be. Usually
No,
not. We start
never.
where we start. And like you said, you did things out of like sheer force. But
Yep.
then as you evolved
Yes.
and continued in the building of your business, you were like, I don't think I like that. Let's
Yep.
shift. I like this a
Yep.
little bit more. I don't like this. But that
Yep.
comes from the doing. That comes
Yes.
from the growing of your business. So I love that. So yeah, so let's talk about visibility.
Let's.
What is it? What is for anyone listening that's like, what does that exactly mean?
Yeah.
Let's talk about visibility. What is it? Why is it important? How do we do it? All the things to build a successful online business and practice.
Yeah. So visibility to me is just that. It's being visible to the people that you want to serve. It's building an engaged and excited community and audience that wants to buy things from you. So visibility is being seen. It's getting out there. And how do you do it? The cool thing about visibility is there's a million different ways to do it, right? There are things like this, like guest podcasting is a fantastic visibility strategy, right? Which comes back to my whole concept of connection, because it's all through relationships, right? Sharice invited me to be here because of our previous relationship and because of my visibility on social media. I like to say things that, that ruffles feathers and
Can
in
I
turn
wait?
create visibility.
Can I just say, and can I just say, Ryan, like the last 2 weeks, I'm like eating it up. I'm like, oh my God, Ryan, are you serious? I'm loving every piece of
Yes.
it. And
Mhm.
that's the magic of just
Yes.
being able to stand in
Mhm.
your own authenticity and
Yes.
not being afraid to show up unapologetically who
Yes.
you are in full force. And like
Yep.
when I'm reading that, I mean, I'm like, oh my God. It's like a
Yep.
juicy, I don't know. It draws me in. And that's what you want for your audience, the
Yep.
people that are
Oh.
consuming your content, those of you that are
Mhm.
listening. You want people to be like, they're hanging on to every word. Like, what's she post today? What's she gonna post tomorrow? I'm coming back
Right.
to look. Yes.
Some
So
some
keep
days
going. So
it's
I
a lot
love
of
it,
pressure.
Ryan.
But
What'd
like
you say?
you nailed it. I said sometimes it feels like a lot of pressure. I'm like, it's gotta be even spicier today. No, I'm just kidding. Visibility is so what you described is I think a part of visibility, right? So visibility are the tools, it's the eyeballs. But the way that you get visibility is by taking a stand. Right. And this is something I see very
Mm,
often in entrepreneurs is sometimes we're afraid to take a stand. We're afraid to
yeah.
polarize. We're afraid
Yep.
to say what's really on our heart, because what if we make somebody angry, or what if we offend someone? And I never wake up in the morning with the intention to offend. That's really not
Right.
that's never my intention. But I do sometimes say the hard things that does sometimes inadvertently wind up offending someone, but that's never my heart, right? Like that's just not where I'm
Right.
coming from ever. So I just want to clarify with that,
Yeah.
that's just not me at all. The visibility comes from speaking your truth. It comes from things like this. It comes from showing up on video. It comes from what I love about visibility is there's a million different ways to do it, and you can find the way that works best for you. So if you're someone who's like, I'm not video ready yet, cool, right. Pick a platform where writing is you can tell your
Mhm.
story that way. Cause I'd say 60-70% of my content is written, right?
Well, that's what I was going to say. I
Um,
don't think that I've ever seen you on video now that I mentioned, other than when we were,
yeah.
when we
Yeah. Yeah.
initially
Yeah.
met in that format. But
Yeah.
everything that I consume of yours is
Mhm.
written content.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We do some short form video over on TikTok. We're in a pause phase because I want to get really clear on my messaging over there. And this is something I want to illustrate as well. Like this is an evolving game, right? Like I'm like, we test
Mhm,
and
mhm.
we tweak and we test and we tweak and we test and we tweak. And so TikTok is really intended for me to speak to a more a newer business owner audience and a more of a click to buy product, whereas Facebook is where primarily my more established entrepreneurs, people who are hiring us for done for you or done with you work. So I've kind of pulled those two audiences apart. So there is some video content over there, but primarily it's written and audio. I have a podcast, but then my video is this. People will ask me to come in and train their podcast. They will ask me to come in and do guest expert trainings in a lot of different ways. But those are all ways to serve. And especially your audience, Sharice, being so well educated, teaching and sharing your gift, like that is visibility. Somebody says, hey, can you come in and train, do this training for my people? The answer for me was always yes. Like from the very beginning, I spoke for free on more stages that one could count. Even the mastermind that Sharice and I met in, I was not paid for that training gig. I did that for free. I did it for the visibility.
It's, well, I was going to say, so smart, so strategic. Have you had a chance to calculate how much money came from that? How much business you were able to generate from that? No?
I mean, my guess is it's probably been 40% of my revenue total in 5 years has come from coaching for free in that community.
Yeah.
110%. So, but to me, that is visibility, right?
It is.
My favorite part of visibility is that for me, it's always an act of service, right? Like coming here and talking to you guys today, act of service, right? Somebody says, hey, Ryan, can you put together a sales training or an audience building training for my mastermind? Yes. Can you come in and lead a session on? Yes. And I still to this day don't say no. And it's so funny because there's some people that would tell you that I should charge for that and I should never serve for free. But to your point, would I rather get, an X number of dollar fee, or would I rather just show up and serve and let the world, again, if we believe in, what we put out comes back, like to me, that's what it is. My act of service, the law of reciprocity. And, for me, that's what I really do. I think I've been paid for a handful of speaking gigs in my entire career. Most of the time, if somebody says, hey, Ryan, come speak, I'm like, pay for my travel and I'll show up because it is just, I get so much energy from it. I will always sign a client out of the room. And so I would to me, that's just kind of how I roll. So, but to me, visibility is sharing your voice. It's sharing your heart. It's sharing your expertise on whatever stage you can, and start where you are comfortable. Do not get hung up on, I'm not ready, or, I'm not ready to show up on video, or I'm not ready to get on a stage. Like, you don't have to. Just start sharing your heart and sharing your gifts, and it will snowball from there. It always does.
I love that because you're so right. So often people will hide behind what they think that the expectation is, and what they're like, oh, I can't do that yet, so I'm not ready yet. No. Just do it a different way. Do it in your own way. Do it in a way that feels good to you, and allow it to evolve. Allow your confidence to build. At some point, you will feel confident being on camera. So just start where you are. Is what I'm hearing you say, and I love that.
Always.
I love that. Yeah, and to your point about just being not being afraid to just show up and speak your heart. I did I think it was last week or maybe it was 2 weeks ago. I was saying how I see a lot of vanilla stuff, right? So vanilla, and it's like people don't want. If you're vanilla, you just blend in with everyone else. Is it unmemorable? Is that a word? Did I just make that up? Unmemorable? You're not memorable. How about that? And so don't be afraid to, speak your mind, share what's on your heart, even if it's, and even sometimes, it works to your benefit. If it's contrary to what mainstream is saying, that's what's necessary. So love it. Love it. Love it.
Well, and so also go ahead. Can I piggyback on that thought? Because there's somebody listening right now that's like, but I'm not spicy. Like, that's not my jam. That's not my personality. Somebody is thinking that right now. I just want to tell you, like, to have strong beliefs and feelings about something that is against the status quo doesn't always have to come off as spicy, or in my turn, like a little bit of sarcasm, a little bit of snark. That's kind of my personality.
That's your personality, right?
Yeah. But that works for me. But if you believe strongly, especially those of you in the health and wellness space, right? Like, you don't have to be antagonistic to share why your view on holistic health is different than what the rest of the world is teaching us about health, right? So when we say take a stand and don't be vanilla, it's not so much about like you have to have this large gregarious personality and you have to poke the bear all the time. You really just have to be willing to say things that other people won't say, right? Like, and I just think of a very specific example. My ex-husband had really bad like heartburn and acid reflux, right? And like every doctor was like, just here's some medication. And so, and again, I know this is a very specific, weird example, but it's what popped up to share was like for you being like, it is not normal to be on, some sort of medication for GERD for your entire life.
Their
Like
life,
that's not
exactly.
normal. Right. So like to me, that's not a spicy comment. It's not, it's not you being confrontational. It's you just
Speaking
sharing,
your
hey, that's
truth.
normal. Like if you've been taking this medication for 10 years and your primary care doctor just keeps telling you to keep taking it, like something
Something
else is
right.
wrong. Like to me,
Right.
that's a way to say something that other people aren't saying without
Absolutely.
being sassy if that's not your jam.
Right. I love that. I love that you make that distinction because you're right. Everyone's not sassy and
Right.
and but you don't have to be. You don't
No,
have to be.
it takes all kinds.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah. And that goes back to being you, being your
Yes.
authentic self and just knowing who you are, show up as you. It's not about pretending to be someone else. Say it in
Yes.
your own voice, say it in your own way. If we were having a conversation and I'm in your living room and Ryan, you're telling me, yeah, my husband's still taking, ex-husband's still taking,
Yeah.
meds every single day. I'm like, girl, that's not normal, right?
Yes.
Like
See?
something's not right about that. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Love it. Love it. Love it. Love it. So yeah. So we talked about, what visibility is. And what did we even talk about why it's important? I feel like we did, but why
I
is
mean,
it
we can
important?
talk about that. I mean,
Mhm.
eyeballs, we have to have people to sell to is really what
Right.
it comes down to, right? So to me, I've been talking a lot about this lately is reach and frequency. So I told you I started selling radio advertising when I was 21 years old. God
Mhm.
love them for giving me a job. But I mean, that's literally what it was reach and frequency.
Mhm.
When we sat down and we sold radio advertising, it was like, okay, cool. If you want to advertise on our morning drive show, right, you're going to reach this many people, but we need to make sure that you're going to reach them X number of times for it to be worth your dollars, right? So that was how we put together
Yeah.
campaigns and whether we told a client like your budget's too small or, spend more, spend less, whatever. But that's really what marketing is about. That's really what sales is about, right? It is about reach and frequency. So visibility is important because you have the reach, right? It creates a little bit of social proof, right? It's really allowing you
Mhm.
to share your gift with people and we need people to sell to. Right? We need people to sell to. That's why visibility is so important, is because if we don't have people to sell to, it doesn't matter how amazing we are at what we do. It doesn't matter how talented we are, how much education we are. Unfortunately, our businesses will continue to struggle if we don't
Yeah.
consistently have people to sell to. And the best way I know to consistently have people to sell to is to get visible and then to have a process of which to walk people through to go from stranger on the internet to paying client.
That's right. Absolutely. Which actually segues right perfectly into, a sales funnel or
Yep.
feeling your sales pipeline. That's probably a better
Yep.
way of saying that. So feeling your sales pipeline. So visibility
Yep.
ties right into if you got more eyeballs on you, your
Mhm.
content, your services. Okay, so now let's fill the sales pipeline. So talk to us a little bit about that. What is it for? If that is a new term
Yep.
for you that you're listening, you're like, what pipeline? Are we in construction? No. So share with us, Ryan. What is
Yeah.
a sales pipeline? Yeah.
So a sales pipeline is literally just for us, we talk about it's the process that we walk people through. It's where we take somebody from stranger to paying client. To me, that is a
Mhm.
pipeline. And so, but there are people in that pipeline that might be cold, and there's people in that pipeline that might be warm, and people that are hot, right? So, cold means they don't really know us that well. Warm means they're getting to know us and we're nurturing them. And hot means that they are real opportunities that are interested in working with us. They have the problem that we solve and we can serve them. So, we look at a pipeline is like, okay, cool, we're getting visible. But now, what we really need to be mindful of doing is when we get visible, is how do we pull those people into our ecosystem? And then, how do we build a relationship with them? So, we teach the 4 C's of connection marketing is kind of our framework, where the first thing is we have to connect on a shared value typically, right? And then we have to create a relationship, right? So that is really what a sales pipeline is about, is we have to connect. There's something that you hear from somebody or somebody's going to hear from you and they're like, oh my gosh, yes, I totally resonate with that story. And now they want to get to know you better. So they're going to follow you on social media, or maybe they're going to join your email list, or, whatever the case may be. But then we want to take them from there to like, okay, cool. How do we build a relationship? And then how do we qualify them? Because there will be people in our audience who love us that may never buy anything from us. Maybe they're just not a fit, whether it's budget, whether it's objective, whether it's the type of, health issue they have isn't something that you do, whatever the case may be. But so then we're moving people through. So it's like we start at, connect with a shared value, then we start to create a relationship. And from there, we start to warm that relationship up, qualify that relationship, and then ultimately convert them into a paying client. And so what we do for our clients is we map out as what that process looks like. What's beautiful is that process can be as simple as showing up on social media, sharing your voice, and inviting people in. I mean, that's 80% of our
Simple.
business
Yeah.
comes from us doing that. So please don't be confused by the words that we're using to make it feel like it's complicated. It really can be as simple as showing up, sharing your heart, and inviting people in. And through that, like Cherie said, she's like, for the last 2 weeks, I've just been like waiting for what you're going to say next. Like, to me, that's relationship building, right? And obviously we already have a relationship, but if and when Cherie has a marketing and a sales need, it's very likely she's going to think of me because I show up so powerfully and I'm constantly making invitations. So she might not have a need right now. Maybe she never has a need, but maybe her next podcast guest does, right? They're like, oh, you got to follow my girl, Ryan, right? So like, to me, that's really what it's about. That's why the visibility game and the consistency game is so important, is because other people are going to dump people into your sales pipeline too. But we want to make sure, because a lot of people will show up and they'll get really visible, but they won't have any process to walk their people through to get them to actually pay them. And then I see people on the flip side where they're like, I've got 5 leads and I'm going to close all 5 of them, but I have no idea where the next one is coming from because I don't have any visibility. So you can be in a balance, you can be heavy on one side or the other.
Right. No, I love that. And I love that, you said it's your strategy, and the strategy that you co-create with your clients it can be super simple. That's me all day, like simple.
Yep.
Or it could be as detailed and complex as you desire, based on you, based on who you are and how you want to build your business. So yeah, I love that. And enough cannot be said about people that, like you said, if I don't have a need, for instance. So those of you listening, so maybe who you're in conversation with doesn't have a need, but doggone it, you better believe the minute they are having a conversation with a friend, a colleague, someone online, like they're, guesting as a podcast, they're like, oh my God, this is not like, you absolutely have got to, connect with Ryan, connect with whoever, whatever it is. And I love that. That's the power of connection and the power of relationship building. Man, I tell you, some of most of the people that I've hired has come from either, if I've not known them directly, it's a friend of, it's a referral. It's a referral. We know about referrals in healthcare. We know about that. But I think sometimes when we kind of switch gears or pivot from, being an employee to entrepreneurship and building your own, holistic health practice or coaching business or consulting business, I think we forget sometimes the importance of referrals. The importance of referrals. I think
so many people do. Like, your first place to get visible is in your existing network. Like, that is your first place to get visible. And again, some of you are getting caught up right now. You're like, yeah, but nobody in my network is this, or this. Everybody knows somebody.
Say it again, Ryan.
Everybody knows somebody, and you never know. I just got on the phone with somebody last week, and it was somebody I've known for years. And she just was like, look, we haven't caught up in a long time. Let's catch up after the holiday. And so we hop on a coffee chat. And by the end of it, she's like, I'm wondering if you can help us with this, and this. That was not my intention at all. I've not sold a darn thing to this woman. I literally got on the phone just to continue to strengthen the relationships because I believe so strongly in them. But for the end of it, we're having a conversation about how to work together. But I think sometimes we get caught up in the idea of like, I'm looking for this exact ideal client. Who's this person who has this problem? And those are the only people that I can sell to. And yes, you want to sell to those people, but you will also find that by serving, a lot of different people, by getting into conversation, by building relationships, you never know. And it's always going to be better when somebody, if, for instance, you had not met the people who are listening to this or watching me right now, like, you're meeting me through Cherise, right? So there's instant credibility in that introduction, whether it's unconscious, right? You don't think that, but if you just saw me on the internet, you might be like, that girl talks a lot, right? Like, a lot of things, but you might not have any real personal connection with me. But now that I know somebody, and you're like, oh, okay, cool. Now I want to follow along. Like, that's how it works. But again, we get so funneled on like, I got to find my exact right person with their exact right problem. And that's it. When we're forgetting that it's a bell curve, right? Like, we're always talking to the person at the top of the bell curve, but there's a whole lot of people in the rest of that curve that we either can serve for us, advocate for us, make introductions for us in a really powerful way.
Yep. Love it. Yeah. So true. So true. And so, Ryan, what would you say is the key? If there's a key, what is the key to growing your business or practice on social media? What would you say is the key?
Ooh, I mean, reach and frequency is really the key. It's so funny.
Yeah.
It really, the key is there are two keys, right? The one is that you have to take intentional action to grow your audience every single day. I do see a lot of people struggle with having a big enough pool of people to sell to. So that is the one thing on social media. You want to constantly be growing your network. And it's as simple as, if you're on LinkedIn, we're connecting with new people every day. If you're on Facebook, you're friend requesting new people every day. If you're on Instagram, you're following new people every day. Do not overcomplicate this, right? But you are
Yeah.
consistently finding new people to connect with and start conversations with. So that's kind of the first thing. The key is adding new people. And then the second one is that reach and frequency model of, I call it becoming known before you're needed, right? So again, when
Oh, I
somebody,
love that.
you meet somebody new, they might not even be thinking about anything that you do, right? So right now, I may not think I need your services. I might be a fit for your services, but if I don't know that your services exist, right, then I don't need them. But now that
Right.
I'm following you, and now that I'm watching you, and now that you're consistently showing up and you're consistently sharing your heart, and I'm like, maybe that is something I need, right? But again, I would
Hmm.
have never gone searching for it because I
Right.
didn't know. And so I used to always use the example when I first started my business, it was bookkeepers. Like, I didn't know bookkeepers were a thing. In my corporate career, we worked with accountants and CFOs and controllers, right? Like, I'm sure there was a bookkeeper on staff. I just didn't know
Hmm.
about it. So to me, I didn't know a bookkeeper was an option. So when I started a business, I thought that I needed to hire an accountant. And I had to be schooled on the idea that a bookkeeper and accountant are two different things, and that a bookkeeper is going to cost you less than an accountant to keep your books, and you can just give your stuff to an accountant at the end of the year. Like, I did not know this, right? So
Yeah.
but that was something I had to learn. And then I was like, okay, cool. Maybe I should hire a bookkeeper. But then I didn't go looking for a bookkeeper. I found a bookkeeper who I already knew. And that's who I wound up doing business with. Right. So, but I
Hmm.
didn't know I needed a bookkeeper. So even if a bookkeeper had been like, do you need my services? I've been like, no, I already have an
Nope.
accountant. Until I
Right.
learned
Mhm.
that I don't necessarily need an accountant full at that point in my business. I mean, at some point in your business, you need a full-time accountant, right? Well, or
Right.
fractional or whatever works for you. But for
Right.
where my books were, where the revenue was in my business, I was overpaying in financial support is ultimately what it came down to. Like, my business wasn't
Hmm.
doing enough revenue. There wasn't enough transactions. I wasn't running payroll. I didn't need a full-blown accountant doing my books every week. I was overpaying for that service when I could have
Right.
worked with a bookkeeper. But I did not know that until somebody told me. And then once I knew that, I bought from that person who educated me on that. But I did not need that person's services when we first met.
Yeah.
That's my whole story of become known before you're needed.
I love that. Become known before you need it. You need to make a t-shirt or something
Right.
about that. That's good. I mean, it really is. I love it. And
Well,
so,
especially in the health space, right? Like, you, especially
uh
holistically, there's so many things available that the average Joe knows nothing about. That you
right.
might introduce them to that can totally change their lives. Like, I think your space is such a cool space of people need to be educated on what's available to them outside of the traditional healthcare system.
So true. So true. I love it. Yep. And so let me ask you what one piece of advice that you would give someone that's listening, that one is a newbie, like they're
Mhm.
just now beginning their business, just now launching their business. And then also I would love to hear your perspective for someone who maybe they've made six figures, but now they're working towards their next six figures or scaling to multiple six.
Yeah.
So yeah,
So
what
for the
would you be your
newbie,
advice?
it's always been the more people you talk to, the more money you make. Like, as many people as you can get in front of. That's what I've always said to new entrepreneurs, is how many new people are you talking to every single day, right? As you grow and as you're more established and your time is more full with client work and different things, you can't, network your face off like I would typically recommend on your way to six figures. So then to me, the thing that we do there is, we can't take our foot off the gas. We just have to find a different way to do it. Right. So
Mhm.
I rely a lot more on content marketing in this phase of my business than I did when I was new. Right. Because when I was new, I was just out there shaking hands and meeting people and doing all of that. Right. But then once, my time became more restrictive and I couldn't go out and network my face off and have hours and hours to talk to people in coffee chat, I had to find a different way to share my voice. And that's when I got really good at creating content. So that when I was in conversation, I was in conversations with better qualified leads because I was better at
Mhm.
creating good content. So, like I said, the advice to the newbie, go talk to people. Doesn't matter. Don't judge the people, just go talk to them.
Yeah.
And then as you become more established, my advice to you would be get really good at writing copy or hire somebody who's really good at writing copy. And when I
Mhm.
say copy, this could be your social media, this could be your email, this could be, your podcast, whatever, however you're connecting with people, doesn't matter. Get get good at then being able to tell your story in a way that then when you are in conversation, it's going to be with somebody who's more aligned with who you
Mhm.
look to serve, because you have to be more protective of your time. So that was really the big
Absolutely.
shift that happened to me. Was it was no longer just about me beating the streets and shaking hands, because I didn't have the time to do it. So I
Mhm.
needed to send something out into the world for me. And that's when I really got good at content creation.
Love that. Love that. And is there anything specific that you did to get really good at creating content? Did you outsource it? Was this something you were already kind of good at? Did you Nope, you're like
I
shaking your
mean, I
head.
think I've always been good at content creation. I've been a salesperson my entire career, right?
Yeah.
So telling stories and present and like giving presentations was what I was
Mhm.
good at, because I did it my whole career. But really, the way we get good at anything is just by doing it. Like
By
in the
doing it.
beginning, we're all beginners, and this
Yeah.
is so hard, especially for those of you that are in the medical fields that have probably put more time into your education than I can imagine in like my tiny little finger, right? But
Mhm.
like everybody's a beginner in this process, and the only way
Mhm.
you get really good at creating content is by creating content. And again, I mean,
Yeah.
people pay us to write their content for them, but I will not take on a project for someone who can't hasn't mastered their own content, because just hiring somebody miraculously, it's not a magic
So
wand, right? Because if what
no.
you're saying and
Right.
doing currently isn't working, I can audit it and I can tweak it and I can make some suggestions. But most of the time when people come to us, it's more of I have something that works. It's taking up too much of my time, or I need to turn the volume up on it and I don't know how, or I need to amplify my voice. It's not like, I hate this, figure it out for me, you know?
Right. No, no, that's
So
yeah.
yeah.
No, go ahead.
I was going to say that that's an important part, because you asked me like, what did you do?
Yeah.
Did you outsource?
Mhm.
And I mean,
Mhm.
a lot of it I create myself. I'd say I create about 70% of it myself. And then I have a team who takes it,
Mhm.
repurposes it, does a lot of different things with it to make sure it winds up where it's supposed to. They'll
Mhm.
take a podcast and they'll turn it into an email, but
Yeah.
generally speaking, it's still a lot of my own voice.
Right.
But again, even when it comes time to outsource, you want to be able to know what works so that you can tell the person who you're outsourcing
Right.
to what has worked. So then, like I said, they can just make small tweaks and turn the volume up and down and do different things to
Yeah.
help you get a better results.
Yeah, and I think it's just the distinction is really important to make that, initially.
Yep.
There's a lot of things you just don't want to do, but this is one thing that I feel very strongly about, and I think you do too, is that
Yeah.
this is one thing you can't outsource too early, because you have to find
Yes.
your voice. And the
Yep.
only way for you to find your voice is to use your voice. And it comes, and if you can't confidently articulate what it is that you do and who it is that you serve and how it is that you serve them, if you can't personally confidently articulate that, you can't just like you can't hand that off to someone to say, can you tell me what I do? No.
Right.
But that
Yeah.
comes through the process, right?
Yes, it is. It's a process, and it's an
it's
evolving
it's
process, right?
evolving. Yes, it is. Oh my gosh, yes.
So it is a living, breathing thing for sure.
Yeah, so I love that. I love that. So any final thoughts, any final things that you want to leave us with? You've given us so much. Yeah, any final thought for to help increase visibility?
I would say, like, just we've hit it on the head multiple times, but like, your superpower is that you are you. And so it does not matter that there are 1,200 other people, functional medicine doctors in the world, or 1,200 other, you know, health coaches that focus on gut health. Like, it doesn't matter, right? Because your superpower is that you are you, and that's it. So it's
Yep.
really being mindful of that, because we get so hung up in somebody else is already doing it, or somebody has beat me to it, or they do it better, or whatever the case may be. Like, your superpower is your experience, which nobody else can possibly have.
I love that. And I say that all the time. No one can do what you can do the way you can do it.
Right.
They just can't.
Right.
And that is your superpower. So love it.
I mean, I literally launched a marketing agency in 2023. Like, do you think the world really needs another marketing agency on paper? No, they do
Yeah.
not. Right. But my experience, my career, my entrepreneurial experience, my ability to say things that other people don't want to say positions me really uniquely for other people who want to show up in that same way. Right. So, like,
Yeah.
of course, the world didn't need another marketing agency when I started an agency. Right. But
But the
for
world
my
needed you.
clients, I'm exactly what they need.
You are absolutely right. And I love that. I'm so glad that you did launch a marketing agency. And so I know you have something really cool. Where can people find you? Let's start there. Where can people
Yeah.
find you if they're like, oh my gosh, I love this lady. How do I get more of her?
So actually Facebook is my primary platform. I spend a ton of
Okay.
time on Facebook, so you can connect with me there. You can just follow along or send a friend request, or we do have a Facebook group called it's called Connection Marketing is the name of it. So those are the
Right.
two places that are best. I mean, I am on LinkedIn and Instagram, but it's typically not me, it's my team. So if you want to hang out, Facebook is the best place to do it.
Facebook's where you're. Love it, love it, love it. And we'll drop that. We'll drop a link
Yeah.
into the show notes. And there was another link that we have for you that we'll drop in the show notes. It's a do you remember what it is, Ryan?
Is it the private podcast? Is that what
That's
my
it. It's
team?
the private podcast. Yes, thank you.
Yeah. So we have a private
Yeah.
podcast that is all about how to better leverage social media to sign clients. So it's called Create, Connect, Convert. It is something you have to download and opt into. So it's not published publicly, but it's a 4-part series that really talks about what we talked about here today. So we talk about sales and marketing energy. We talk about content marketing. We talk about conversations. We talk about how to build a simple marketing system that you can show up for every day. So it's a really fun training. It'll probably take an hour and a half to listen to the whole thing, but we chunk it into 4 parts because you're busy and you move fast.
That's right. I love it. I love it. I love it. So yeah, we'll definitely drop that link in the show notes. So Ryan, thank you so much for your
Yes.
time, your expertise, your knowledge. Just thank you for sharing your heart,
Yes.
all of that. So definitely appreciate
Well,
you
thank you for the
being here.
invitation and the opportunity. I'm excited to be here.
Yay! You're very welcome. And for those of you that are listening, thank you again for, as always, for listening. I love you guys. I appreciate you guys and so grateful for you. And don't forget to join me on the next episode of The Sharice Williams Show, another transformational episode, because that's how we do. Okay. All right. See you soon. Bye for now.
Bye, guys.